You can help me today.
And they can unmute themselves. All participants are muted.
Well, good morning, everybody out there in ACN land. How are you this morning? Good to hear from you. Sound like everybody was on early this morning. I love it. I love it. If you're early, you're on time. If you're on time, you're late. And if you're late, well, in the military, they used to say a bad word. But I wanted to welcome you all this morning to our MOJO call. We do these on Tuesdays. We do them on Wednesdays and Thursdays at 0800, and then on Mondays we have a special leadership call where you can actually be coached by SVPs. That's right. If you want to have an SVP as your own personal coach, on Monday mornings we have a leadership call, and you can actually ask them questions directly. They will answer your specific question. It's a great opportunity. Just get the login from your leader. So this morning, I want to talk about the do something principle. My name is Jim Lambright. My wife, Stacy, and I are regional vice presidents here in the Central Ohio marketplace. And I want to talk to you about this. I was reading this book, and it's called The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Bleep. It's got a bad word in the title, actually. And so I was attracted to that. So I got that book, and I read it, and it's by a guy named Mark Manson. He was talking about the do something principle. And I was attracted to that because in our business, it seems like a lot of times people will get started or not get started. And I'm always curious as to why, when they do get started, why sometimes they don't do anything. Why is it they don't perform with the business? And this book described it exactly. I mean, perfectly. It had a chapter that covered it completely. See, becoming an entrepreneur, becoming self-employed, we know that that is the best for our life. Like, you can make your own schedule. Your commute can be from your bedroom down to your office, instead of having to get into traffic. We know that you can make unlimited income. You can work with who you want, when you want, where you want, and you can make as much money as you want to make. So we know it's the best for us. But why is it that people either don't have success or don't choose to do it? Why is that? Well, I think it's because there are many things to learn, and there's a couple different laws out there that apply to it. And here we go, some laws, right? Let's talk about some laws. One of them is called Parkinson's law. If you've never heard of Parkinson's law, not Parkinson's disease, Parkinson's law, there's a couple different applications to it, but when you're applying it to business or work, it works like this. It says that your work, or your busy work or whatever, will expand to fill the amount of time that you have available. Parkinson's law. So that gives the appearance to people that they are too busy to start their own business. And that's because the time that they allow themselves, they allow activities to just fill that space. In other words, what that means is they don't carve out time to build their business. We will always make time for things that are important to us. I want you to remember that. When people say, I'm too busy, what I want you to hear them say is this: I don't view it as important enough. Okay? That's what they're saying, because if something's important, you will make time for it. There's another law, of course, called Murphy's Law. Everybody knows Murphy's Law, right? Murphy's Law is this: when something can go wrong, it will go wrong. It's sort of a negative viewpoint on life, but that's what Murphy's Law is, right? Well, Mark Manson has a law called Manson's Law of Avoidance. Manson's Law of Avoidance. Check this out. You've never heard of this before. And here's what it says. The more something threatens your identity, the more you will avoid it. Ooh, what's that mean? Let me repeat that one more time. The more something threatens your identity, the more you will avoid it. You see, we as human beings get comfortable. And we get comfortable in ways that sometimes are good for us, but a lot of times in ways that aren't good for us or even bad for us, right? Like comfort food. I love comfort food, but is it really the best for us? That's a different subject we'll get into another time. But think about that. The more something threatens your identity of who you are, the more you avoid it. Let's talk about what this means. See, our educational system has taught us to be employees. It has taught us to conform. It has taught us to have this identity that we need to have this, and I'm using air quotes right now, stable job, right? That's the biggest oxymoron out there. A stable job? There's no such thing. A stable job is where you're reliant upon someone else's opinion of you, as well as their structuring of their books to choose whether or not you stay employed. Stable job, that's the absolutely craziest thing. That does not exist, right? And so when people say that, it always cracks me up. See, when you have control of your own destiny, that's where you have stability. But see, people get comfort. And so what they do is they will have this identity that I'm just an employee. They have that in their brain. So what they do is they go out to consistently prove that over and over and over again. See, what we believe about ourselves, we will consistently try to pursue over and over again. You see it, let's see, maybe sometimes people that are overweight, they'll say, you know what? I'm just big boned. I just have a slow metabolism. Well, they will then go out to prove that to themselves. What you say about yourself, you will consistently try to prove over and over again. So we have to teach people to start thinking differently. See, self-employment can be terrifying. And what happens when people are terrified? Well, they either fight or flight. And what we see a lot of people do is they get paralyzed. So here's what we've learned. If you do something, if you move, if you take action, anything at all, and don't just sit there, you can overcome being terrified. See, the simple act of working on something will start the process of success. Here's what I want you to remember today. That the number one is greater than zero. Just one is greater than zero. See, a lot of times people look at the finish line. In our business, everybody wants to be a senior vice president, right? But I promise you this right here today. If you stare at senior vice president and stare at that, you probably will never get started. You'll probably never get started, right? We know the cliche, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. You know, we've also heard the one, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. See, if you're going to run a marathon, you cannot sit there and stare at the finish line. It will seem insurmountable and you won't be able to finish most likely, or you won't even start because it's just too far. If you're going to climb to the top of a mountain, you don't stare at the summit of the mountain. You begin by taking a first step. In fact, you know, I've been reading about as far as losing weight goes, they say weighing yourself every day is a terrible idea. Terrible idea because you're sitting there working on that. You need to weigh yourself in longer increments, like every 2 weeks or every month, right? And so that way you're just taking the little tiny activities to get started so you don't get demotivated, right? Here's what I want you to know. Good is good enough, not perfect. We get paralyzed by perfection. There's so many people that want to be perfect when they're going to do the business. And what they do is they use that idea of getting started, to get ready, to prepare, to practice, to train, to get started, to get ready, to practice, to train, and they never actually start. See, good is good enough. It's the action that is going to give you the success. Here's what people think, and this happens to us as in kids, but see, action is not just the effect of being motivated. It's not just the effect of motivation. It is the cause of motivation. See, if you're constantly waiting until you're motivated to get started and take action, you're never going to take action. It's not going to happen. The action is the motivation. It was what causes us. See, most of us only commit to action when we feel a certain level of motivation, and we feel motivation only when we get enough emotional inspiration. So what does that mean? So it works like this. Emotional inspiration comes from usually some type of pain point, some type of life crisis, or maybe some type of an event, right? To give you a little bit of emotional inspiration. Well, that gets you motivated, and then that gets you to take action. And we think that's what's required. we have to have emotional inspiration to get us motivated to take action. And it's an endless loop, because what happens is emotional inspiration and motivation wear off. And so then what happens with your action? It goes bye-bye, right? In fact, a lot of people need a major life crisis or something huge to happen in their life to get up off the couch and do something. How do we know that? Because we saw it in the crash in 2008 when the entire economy crashed, right? All of a sudden, everybody out there was looking for a business opportunity, a way to make extra money. They had to have an insurance plan. They had to have another stream of revenue. And it was the pain of having almost our entire economic system crumble and people lose almost their entire retirement, in some cases all of it, to get up off their butts and do something. See, that's the old loop, the emotional inspiration, which leads to the motivation, which led to the action. Well, what happened? The economy came back, things got good, people's retirements went up, they tripled, and everybody's like, I'm good, right? They no longer have that emotional inspiration to motivate them to take action. But not you. Not you, you're different. You're on here today, you're on this call because you're an action taker. Here's what we can rewire our brains to do. See, the action will create the inspiration, which will lead to the motivation, which will then lead to further action. But it's the action of the first step. This is called the do something principle. Do something. Anything, any movement to get the ball going will start to get you inspired. I'll give you an example outside of our industry. Writing a book. Writing a book. How do novelists, these people, these authors, how do they write novels? Well, most common answer when they are interviewed is this: 200 crappy words per day. You heard that right. Every day. 200 crappy words per day. They force themselves to sit down and, no matter what, write 200 words per day. What are they writing about? Sometimes they have no idea. Sometimes they just start putting words on paper, and it's the action that inspires them and then motivates them and takes them more action. What they say is a lot of times is when they're forcing themselves to do 200 words in a day, they'll end up writing 2,000 words. Because something clicks, something inspires them, it gets them motivated, and they keep going. And we can apply that to our business. See, the standard of success in our business should not be the result. It is the action that you are taking. Let me repeat that again. See, if you're measuring your business based on the results as to whether or not you had success, like, did the person say yes? Did they become my customer? Did they join my team? If you're measuring that as your standard of success, you're going to fail. You're going to fail. You're not going to make it. See, the standard of success is the action that you take. It's the 200 crappy words per day. That is the success. The question you have to ask yourself is, did I take action? If the answer is yes, then you won. That was success. It's not, did they join me or did they become my customer? No, that is not the standard of success. The standard of success is the action, taking the small, tiny steps of action that we know that in the end, compiled over time, will create success. But if you're measuring it the wrong way, you'll get demotivated and you'll stop. See, failure feels unimportant when you adopt the do something principle. Success is doing something. The measuring stick is doing something. And so start simple. Here's what I don't want you to do. I don't want you to say, on Sunday, I'm going to work on the business for 8 hours. No, you're not. No, you won't. No, you won't. You'll dread Sunday coming and you won't take action. The action, any action, needs to happen daily, and it will be the source of your inspiration and motivation, because what's going to happen is as you keep taking the actions, and we know what our actions are. We have two of them. We either ask a question. Do you ever look at other ways of making money? Or would you do me a huge favor? Those are our two actions. That's it. every person that you talk to, you need to do that with one of those two questions, right? That's the do something principle, and it's your only metric for success as to whether or not you won today in our business. Did I take that action? And remember, 1 is greater than 0. 1 is greater than 0. I would bet the majority of you on the call, and how do I know? Because I know I've done it myself. I'm an RVP, where I did not ask somebody that question. Either one of those two questions, I didn't ask somebody that question. Do you ever look at other ways to make money? Or I did not ask them, would you do me a huge favor? And by not doing that in a day, that was a failed day. See, it doesn't matter what they answer. The result is not your measurement. It is simply, did I ask? Yes or no? There's no maybe in there. Either yes, I asked, that means I won, or no, I did not ask, and that meant I lost. Their answer is their answer. It has nothing to do with you, nothing to do with the company. It only has to do with them and their timing. The result is not your measurement. It is the action. And this gives you freedom to fail. We always hear the saying, failure pushes you forward. Well, here's what people think. They think the failure part, right? The people just said no to me, they won't join my business, or no, they won't be my customer. And that demotivates you when you're using that as your measuring stick. The success is the action. The smallest viable action is your goal. Can you take the journey of 1,000 miles by taking one step? Of course you can. The question for you is, will you? So here's what I want you to do today. Measure yourself today when you talk to somebody, when you come across somebody, and measure, did I ask? Yes? Okay, I won. Or no? That means I lost. Good luck to you today. Here's what's coming up. We have a huge event coming. Obviously, we have the international event in Charlotte who's coming up. This is going to be one of those opportunities in your life where you will be able to get an emotional response, the feeling of being there, right? The information we can give you anywhere. You can get the information anywhere online that you will hear there. But what you cannot duplicate and what you cannot get is the feeling, the inspirational, the emotional inspiration, which will motivate you, which will help you get into action. But to make that happen, you have to take the action first of getting yourself registered and then bringing someone with you. So the question today is, who am I going to take with me? And it's not, the success metric is not whether or not they said yes or no. It's, did you ask the question? So good luck to all of you out there. I will see you in Charlotte, North Carolina here in a little over a week. Looking forward to it. Have a great day. Remember, did you take action? Yes or no? That's your metric. Have a great one. Bye.